Well, morning. It's now Friday the 14th. Since we last spoke, I had a lovely few days with my wife. She left at Campbelltown. In fact, I was holed up in Campbelltown for 3 days. The winds were that bad that her flight from Campbelltown to Glasgow was cancelled, so she had to come back in a taxi. So yeah, I had a few boring days in Campbelltown. I was hoping that today I would leave Campbelltown, head round the Kintyre and go north for about a week. However, as is sod's law, we had northerly winds for the next 4 or 5 days, which would have made it a right slog to head up that way.
Kintyre, home is rolling in from the sea. Our desire is always to be here, home of Kintyre.
Well, this is very pleasant. It's nice and sunny. I've got about 11 knots of true wind, 15 knots apparent. We're sailing basically as close as she'll go. The problem is I was pointing at the southern tip of the Isle of Man, which bears 165, and the best I can make is 135 on this tack, which is taking me to Stranraer. So it's a lovely place. I wasn't planning on going there. So I shall close the land a little bit more. Tide's due to turn in my favour in an hour or so, and then I shall tack. And like all of my plans, I may go to Ireland. Bye bye, House of Craig. See you next year. Probably difficult to tell from this, but the boat is. This is life on board a yacht. That it's we're currently leaning at about 25 degrees. So you've got to get all your chores done up a hill. So I've had my porridge and my toast. I'm now paying the price. I'm doing the washing up. Make myself another flask of coffee, and then, so it's now 10:30, and I should then start to psych myself up for a nice bacon sandwich, probably around about midday. Be nice.
Let's head back to 1979 for the only top 10 hit by this band. Who are they?
Dr. Feelgood! Her name is Rio and she dances on the sand. Morning. Well, since we last spoke, quite uneventful really. I had a night in Carlingford, which was very disappointing. No live music. So I had a couple of pints of Guinness, fish and chips, and came back to the boat. And then my plan was just to carry on going, light winds, and make the most of that, and just put the engine on and autopilot and head down. But got as far as Dublin, and fog like I've never witnessed before in my life rolled in. 1 minute I could see the northern big rock at the end of Dublin Bay, and then I just couldn't see it, and I couldn't see it, and I couldn't see it, and it was like, then I thought, well, and you know, my GPS was saying I was only 500 metres away from it, still couldn't see it. The wind also got up and was, of course, on the nose, as it's been on most of the trip. I thought, well, I don't want to go across Dublin Bay, ships here, there and everywhere coming in and out, even with AIS and radar. So I anchored in this spot here. Thought I'd be right next to Howth Marina. Thought I'd be nicely tucked away, but no, the wind was following around the corner, 18-20 knots, very bumpy, with the rocks to the and the breakwater of the marina right behind me. So I just called up the marina and asked if there's a space for me in there, and that was that. So I spent an uneventful night there. I'm just walking to try and get some milk and a few other bits and pieces, and I'm going to head off again. And I've got no idea really. I'm fed up with making plans. Just see what happens. Morning, Tuesday morning. Left Howth yesterday. Story for yesterday is, even in this age of modern meteorological computer generated weather, don't believe what they say, because they had it as next to no wind, 6-7 knots around Dublin Bay, and I had 17-18 knots, which is of course a massive difference, but it was to my advantage. I had a great sail. So I tied strong against the Irish coast, and I was with it. And but when I lost it at about 6 p.m., I decided to call it a day and called into my old haunt Arklow, which was my first stop in Ireland. Because I owe the harbour master some money. I didn't have cash last time, so I'm going to pay him for my stay last time. Get a run for the Sillies today. Big day, or big, nearly, yeah. It's about an hour, a day and 5 hours. So I'm going to leave here about 10 a.m. and should be there about 1 p.m. tomorrow. Should be quite lively. Winds from the east and northeast, which is better than from the south or southwest. Well, summer is here. Not a lot of wind to start off with. Forecast to be quite a bit later on. Quite a bit when I reach the Sillies. 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm in my bed. You can't see me. I'm in my little coffin. You hear the noise of a boat. We're screaming along at over 7 knots. Down towards Isles of Scillies. I should say that most of that trip to the Sillies was an absolute nightmare. The wind was forecast to be an easterly, but ended up a southeasterly. So I was close reaching into 30 knots of wind with 3 reefs in my mainsail and a little handkerchief of jib out. It was so lumpy, sea coming from every direction, that my tiller pilot arm, the thing that steers the boat for me, was just getting chucked off all the time. So I ended up helming for about 10 hours. And then to compound that, one of the lines to my lazy jack bag, which is basically the bag with the name of the boat on it, which the mainsail fills into. So basically you just let the line off and the sails should just fold itself into the bag. But the lines keep the sail in place, and one of them broken, and so all the sail, 30 knots of wind, starts spilling onto the deck. It's pitch black. The boat's jumping up and down like a buckaroo. So I then have to try and sort that out as well. And by the time I got to the Sillies, I was absolutely whacked. And ready for some sleep, but then that night the wind here in the Sillies was incredible. Got up and it's all sorts of everything's clattering because I hadn't basically put the boat to bed properly, made sure all the lines were not rattling on the mast, and they were, and my dinghy was bashing against the back of the boat, so I'm getting up and yeah, not so good.